me the host so I can make Cheryl the co-host.
I want to do my blur. How do you do the
So
blur?
Martha, you want to make Cheryl the co-host and you can make me the host, or I think you said you were going to do that. And let me know when you start to live stream. Oh, we are live streaming. Oh boy. Martha, are you there? Oh, okay, thank you. You made me the host. I'll make Cheryl the co-host. Where is she? Okay, Cheryl, you are the co-host.
Like a brother.
Okay, so we're ready to start.
Yes.
This is June 16th, 2025. Muslim American Power 5. I'm Amatullah Alaji-Sabrie. I'm here with my co-host, Honorable Cheryl Sudduth. And we also have Sister Martha Naila Abdullah from Community Wide Shore, Director of Community Wide Shore, and a very special guest who has been on the program many, many times, Brother Umar Hakeem Day.
I know how to follow orders.
Community organizer extraordinaire
Oh, that's how rumors get started.
in the Los Angeles area. He's from
Allahu
Compton, California.
Akbar.
Los Angeles, but he's not limited to Los Angeles. He's organizes wherever he goes, inshallah. So, Brother Umar, we'll start opening up with Al-Fatiha,
I mean,
inshallah.
Udu Billahi Minash Shaitan Rajim. Bismillahi Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina sirata al-mustaqim. Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen.
Alhamdulillah. Great, great, great. So, those who regularly join us, you know that we usually open with an opening session led by Sister Cheryl. We do have, I expect Sister Cheryl, Brother Todd Benson from Faith in Action East Bay to come on in about 8 minutes. So our opening should probably be short because he is on a tight schedule. In fact, he rearranged a meeting for us.
Sure. So before we do that, I'd be remiss if I didn't do this first. I do want to acknowledge that over the weekend, Saturday morning, uh, the nation got some news, and it's a political show. So I wanted to say this because, as an elected official who deals with this on the regular, especially with having been stalked myself and having to deal with people who position you with lots of screams and violence. What happened in Minnesota was nerve-wracking, to say the least. The killing of elected officials, the legislator and her husband, and the shooting of another legislator and his wife who are still in critical condition is just, it's rattling. I didn't go to any events this weekend. And I didn't even I usually go to the game. I'm a season ticket holder for Valkyries. My daughter and my son went instead. So I wanted to say that before we get started on today's program, because I think that the vitriol, the way we speak to each other, we don't have to agree. My grandmother used to say, but you don't have to agree, but you don't have to be disagreeable to the point where people feel like they have to kill you because they disagree with you. And that is, I'm teaching these courses, and that's the ugly side of politics, that people think that they have to kill you or go after you in that way instead of having a political discourse, which is what we have here every Monday. So I'm gonna ask you guys to talk about, what has your kufi shifting and what has your hijab loose or tight. But for me, that is a very real consequence of our so-called public service to the people. So leave it to you to answer those two questions today.
Well, yeah, I think it is important to acknowledge what happened in Minnesota. And then also what struck me when I was out last night, we were at dinner, and in the restaurant, the TV was on, and they showed the suspect that they had apprehended. And what first thought that came into my mind was, did they stop at Burger King with this guy too, like they did with Ruth in Carolina? Because they seemed very, he was subdued, and the officers that had him seemed to be quite subdued themselves. And I don't know what happened before that particular shot, but in my mind, it gave a very dramatic uh, split screen of how I've seen suspects who were people of color apprehended um, versus um, Caucasian suspects. And it's sad that that is what went through my mind at first, but that's the reality because I've seen a couple of just clips of the way Senator Padilla was treated at that press conference and how he was subdued on camera. And I think it goes to your point as far as public servants, how they are dealt with, and in that instance with Senator Padilla, how he was greatly disrespected, and particularly if you put it in the light of, well, we didn't know who he was. He didn't identify himself, which was some of the narrative that was put out there. When on the clip that I've seen, he very, very clearly identified himself as Senator Padilla. It was very clear. And unless the Secret Service guy who was pushing him forward is deaf, um, he heard it. And the people around, when this was happening in that press room, they had to hear it. So um, I agree with you, and I there's a lot of that we don't know about this particular incident in Minnesota. And one of the contradictions I think that was reported was that the suspect was someone who had been appointed by Governor Walz in some kind of capacity, some kind of local capacity. And so, once again, it's a reminder of the, to me, the violence that this country was founded on and has engaged in over the past 200, almost 300, going on this, yeah. has permeated our society so much so that our first reaction is violence, as opposed to trying to talk it out, trying to work it out, um, having those kind of conversations to identify those areas that we differ in. Um, so, yeah, that's a sad reality. And even sadder for me, if I say what has my hijab tight, is the leadership that we have on multiple levels, the president and the cabinet that he has appointed, and leadership in the House of Representatives. I haven't heard comment from the Senate. There may have been, but I haven't heard except for Democrats. um, doesn't do anything to de-escalate situations. If anything, the rhetoric and the actions are geared towards escalating, and it's like throwing gasoline on an open flame. That seems to be what they um, enjoy doing, or they're of the opinion that by threatening folks, they are able to get their will done, or they're able to be on top. And that's sad that that is the kind of leadership that we have. And the irony to me, the hypocrisy of some of the leaders on the federal level that we have, those who have very openly displayed despicable behavior, have the nerve to talk about how Senator Padilla, he was disrespectful. He was this, that. All of a sudden now, some of them have religion where they are concerned with decorum. And so, yeah, hypocrisy abounds. All right, Umar, I'm not going to keep on talking about that. I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you have been on the ground there in um, LA.
Before he starts, I wanted just to hear what's got his kufi
Well,
tight.
Assalamu alaikum. I don't wear kufis. I wear beanies.
Your beanie. I'm looking at your beanie. I'm looking
Yeah,
at your beanie. I knew it's a beanie. So what
I've
has your
always,
beanie?
I've
What's
always,
got your
wore,
beanie
I've
tight?
always wore beanies. From Allah, we come to Allah return, which means that my heart goes out to the deceased, and I don't want to sound too. I want to make sure this comes out right. So this has to be a wake up call for the way that Americans or the government do business. And it has to be a wake-up call for for the people in America who don't like the way business is done. We have to wake up to the fact that to save a human life is like saving all of humanity. And we have to develop a better discourse or dialogue, like the sister said, to de-escalate a situation. I should be able to approach you, engage you in a way that is just and not just be having my way. Unfortunately, we have America has a history of this type of domination that you're going to listen to me this way. This is the way I want to get your attention, but it's not the way. And we have to start. I believe that our community have to start leading the way to show that there's a better discourse and handle with disagreements. The prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him, he said, the strongest one is not the one who shows his strength, but the one who controls his anger. And this should let us know that the opposition that we face, they are used to venomous warfare, like what's recited in Surah Kaf, and we have to be. We can't let them provoke us or even go there. So this regime, this negative regime that follows, I'm gonna say the right. You know what I'm saying? I don't know too much information on who this guy is, who surrendered and they caught the suspect, but we have to stay organized and present the best moral argument on how to handle discourse when we don't agree with others, especially those who we have voted to put in charge of our lives. I wouldn't encourage anyone to kill someone just to prove your point. You know, sure. I've seen too many situations of people who have done that. So I wouldn't encourage that as a way of life. However, we should wake up to the fact that we are in a new time bracket on this earth. And so everybody's trying to express their point. And we have to be aware of the tricks of Shaitan and not let that rattle us, but to stay focused and grounded in God's truth and move forward, professing the best way of dialogue. You know, exemplified the ways of the prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him. So I pray that the Creator bless us with the strategy to move forward and heal those who are sick and preserve those who are ready to lead.
Appreciate that. And I see that Brother Todd is on. I just wanted to the only reason I brought this up is I wanted us to just know that it wasn't just the 4 people who were injured. When they caught this guy, he had an entire list of dozens of people who he was targeting. So that's what gives me pause, and that's what shook me. It wasn't just the 2 people, the 4 people, 2 people who died or the 2 people who were in the hospital. It's the fact that he had an entire list and that he said he was not alone. That's what he told them. So as an elected official, that is very scary.
And that's what I mean by the opposition that we're facing. They weren't working in silos.
Exactly.
This is a long-term plan. And that's why we have to stay organized and vigilant in the sense of health, security, and protection, our ranks. So, you know, I hear you, you know what I'm saying? But we also have to be mindful that we have to stay vigilant in our protection.
That part. And I just am reminded how often I've been told by imams and everybody else, quit going places by yourself. You know, just things like that. So
that's for real.
And it's real. It's very real. So I think, and it's a little selfish. I wanted to put it in the universe because it was heavy on my chest. So I needed to say it out loud. So
I mean, it's acceptance.
Thank you. Thank you.
Efforts.
Good morning, Brother Todd.
That's the reality. Anyone who takes a public position, you know, things change when you enter the public arena. Whether you're a politician, you're an entertainer, anyone that has that notoriety, you never know who is out there and what their thoughts and their intention may be. That's why we have to, as Brother Umar reminded us, we have to put our faith and our trust in the Creator to protect us.
Indeed. Thank you.
Inshallah, move on forward. Keep on keeping on. Brother Todd Benson has joined us. He is Executive Director of Faith in Action East Bay, affiliated with PICO, People Improving Community Organization.
People improving communities through organizing in the state of California, but nationally, we're known as Faith in Action. We're working on PICO, California to change their name to Faith in Action as well, but we'll see how that works. So
you're organizing for that, okay? But Brother Todd, thank you for joining us. I wanted to, since so much that was going on in LA centered around immigration. I do know that Faith in Action East Bay, you've had at least two in the last 2 or 3 months, immigration actions here in the open area. So I wanted to give you and your organization opportunity to let people know what you have done, what you're currently working on. I believe you have an action that's coming up on Thursday, and how folks can, if they like what they hear and they want to find out more information, how they can connect with Faith in Action East Bay.
Well, yes, and thank you so much, everyone, for having me on. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. It's so great to be with you. I just really appreciate the opportunity. Yeah. I suspect I'll be repeating some things that are already said, but I believe in the Abrahamic faith traditions, and certainly I speak mostly to my own tradition, but from what Muslim faith leaders have told me, this also applies to Islam, but that we are all created in the image of God, right? We are all God's beloved children. We are all 100% equal in that regard. And so what's happening now is some of us, for political reasons, are being scapegoated, are being treated as less than, as people who are not fully human, who deserve to be cast aside. It's my belief that the Creator, when we were all created didn't just say you only have value if you're on this side of the border as opposed to this side of the border, or if you cross over the border, then you don't have value. And that's what's going on. So what we are trying to do is support those in our communities who are immigrants, and prevent families from being pulled apart, from children being separated. And we've heard stories. Governor Newsom shared a story about a sixth grader whose parents were both picked up by ICE, and sixth grader doesn't know where his parents are. People literally, ICE is not following due process. People, I think it's fair to say, literally being kidnapped off the streets right now. So we had a big a vigil for faith communities in Oakland this past week that several hundred people attended. It was on Tuesday this past week as a response to the events the previous weekend in LA that I'm going to guess that Brother Umar spoke about in a minute. And we had several hundred people. It was very peaceful. It was all the faith community. We had Emir Sundiata from the Lighthouse Masjid in Oakland spoke at it. We had a Christian bishop. We had a rabbi. And we had several hundred people out. It was the media, of course. There were some kids in the neighborhood who had been doing donuts in a nearby street, and I happened to observe them because I went over to pick up some food that actually a member of the Lighthouse had donated for the Interfaith Vigil. And I saw some kids doing donuts in their cars, and about 2 hours later, some windows were smashed in an athletic shoe store, and some shoes were taken. And it was the kids in the neighborhood, but the media said that it somehow tied it into what we were doing, but we were completely peaceful. We also do a number of things. The main thing is we provide Know Your Rights trainings as often as possible. We've provided 15 of these to almost 1,000 people. We are training another 700 coming up over the next month in this. We also provide immigration forums where community members who are immigrants can come in and get a pro bono session with an attorney to see if they have any legal options available to them, refugee status, what their possibilities might be for them. And we try to bring the faith community together to say that the faith community supports those of us in our communities who are immigrants. We do a lot of that work. And I'll stop there and see if anyone has any questions, and I can share a little bit about our anti-violence work as well.
Okay, I don't see any hands. Do you have a question, Cheryl?
Well, no, I just wanted to see if you wanted to talk about what happened last week at the Board of Supervisors meeting in Martinez, because we had a huge I know we had a lot of faith in action. We had a contingency, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Faith in Action East Bay people there, with the immigration action that took place outside of the courthouse.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and thank you for that. So in I believe that was Wednesday of last week, Sister Cheryl, that was one of the tactics that ICE has been using across the country is they go and immigrants have an appointment at an immigration court. And so they go to the appointment, and as long as somebody has a court hearing, they cannot be deported. So the strategy is right now to the Homeland Security immigration attorneys are dismissing the case, and then ICE agents are picking people up and detaining and deporting them right there at their court. So it's a deliberate strategy on their part. And so we sent a number of folks. There were a number of groups from the Bay Area that went both to the Concord and San Francisco immigration courts last week. And in Concord, I've seen various estimates between 120 and 200 people turned out. And just that presence of everybody there, people got out there as soon as they can. We had heard there were two and possibly three people who were picked up by ICE in that tactic. But what happened is in both communities, they shut down the courts that afternoon. They stopped. So it was a successful rallying of people to just say, and we're nonviolent. We are completely nonviolent. We believe in peaceful protests and exercising our First Amendment rights. But simply having so many people there, the court shut down. And so I will say, for those of you in the Bay Area and for those of you who are not, there may be similar groups in the Bay Area. For anybody who wants to be notified of protests or situations like that, and this is a different group than us, can go to bayresistance.org. They have a rapid response network they send out to thousands of people when there's a need for folks to come out. So, for example, on this past Saturday in San Francisco, there are members of our immigrant community who all of a sudden started receiving notices on Friday that they needed to appear for an immigration check-in at a different location than usual on Saturday morning. And the thinking was that this was a way for folks to be taken into ICE custody. And so there was a mobilization through Bay Resistance, and other communities may have something similar. So hundreds of people turned out as observers to be present there, and that protected people who did receive those notices. It was highly unusual. It was at a different location. Normally, people never have the immigration appointments on a Saturday. So there's a rapid response mobilization to get people out to observe nonviolently, and authoritarian groups thrive in situations where they're not observed. They're shrouded in secrecy. So this is a way to say, no, our community, and especially for those of us who are citizens, who are not at risk, to go out and stand for those of us in our communities who are not, and say, we're watching, we are with you, we are observing what's happening. We believe this goes against all of our faith values, and we stand against this.
Fantastic. That's good. Okay. I noticed, I know myself, I was surprised when I heard that there was this big commotion going on in Concord. I was like, Concord? Go on, Concord. So people who are not in the Bay Area, this is a little suburban kind of area, a little suburb of let's say San Francisco or Oakland Oakland's in the East Bay. And normally you don't see that type of activity in Concord. I'm not aware of that kind of activity. And I think it was KTVU, which happens to be a Fox station in the Bay Area. They interviewed a woman, I don't recall her name, on camera. She was an immigration attorney, and her client was one of the people that they actually took away because like you said, the Homeland Security attorney um, asked the court to dismiss the case, and because of that, her client could be taken in. And so I think she's been an immigration attorney, she said, for 30 years plus. And she had never seen that type of action or activity there in Concord. And she was very encouraged by people coming out and really working towards ensuring that due process is given to these folks. And even though the government has resorted to these shenanigans, and we have to look at it for what it is really a very targeted attempt to deprive people of their due process. You know, the courts say you have to give them due process. So now they say, okay, well, we'll get around that. And I find that that is generally the tactic that those who want to just be authoritarian and remain in control, that they'll use. They'll come up with all of these um, workarounds to be able to get around what is actually the law, or what is, as they say, the rule of law. And so we need to pay attention to that. We need to, and I think the immigration judges too, they need to they need to step up. You know, if I don't know what they can do, but if there's a way that they can refuse to dismiss a case, and they feel that that there's enough there that the case should go on, so that the person can be protected. If they're innocent, then they have an opportunity to prove their innocence and not fall prey to this scheme of Homeland Security. And what Homeland Security is trying to do, for them, it's a quota system. They're trying to get to the numbers. It's a numbers game that they're playing. They're trying to get to the numbers that Trump has put out there, so that they can then, blow their horn. Or, well, yeah, we deported more illegals than Biden did. That's what their end game is. Not justice, but a quota system. I'm sorry. So, Todd, what is another area? The ceasefire program.
Well, let me say, and if I might, Amatullah, just share a little bit more about what's happening, and then I'll share a little about our anti-violence work, if that's okay. So the important thing to know is that I believe that Trump has significantly overreached. So in the week since he started his authoritarian violent actions in LA, his approval numbers have dropped around 6%. That this is turning a lot of people off. They see it as overreach. And some of the stories about the impact on people are getting through. So all the work that people are doing to protest, to organize, to fight back against this is having an effect. The other thing I will say, two things, Amatullah, in terms of your comment about immigration judges, you may have seen news stories about Trump trying to put their own immigration judges in there, right? One other thing they've been doing on, I believe it was Friday, in Sacramento Immigration Court, they were not letting people. It's important, and there are groups doing great work on this. Faith in Action Bay Area, which was based in San Francisco and San Mateo counties, is doing this every day. They do accompaniment to people for court hearings. People go in with them, which is important to observe. There's a group called the Interfaith Movement for Human Integrity that does a bit of this at the Concord Court. There are immigration courts across the country. So encourage everyone to find out groups that are doing this work, to go in, to be present with people, to be witnesses to what's happening. I'll just say a little bit and about our anti-violence work. And I see anti-violence work, there's issues are all connected, right? So there are reasons why especially in major American cities, why in some communities where tend to be lower income communities where violence is more prevalent. And if you look back at the whole history of redlining, if you look at the whole history of federal housing discrimination, why communities were set up that way. And people who live in communities where violence is an issue, and I have live in one where in the past it has been, nobody wants to live in that situation. And so we have one of the things that we do from faith-based community organizing is we do our own, we figure out what's important to the community. We don't decide what those issues are. We have intentional conversations with people, and then we do our own research on solutions for those. And then once we have ideas about what are the solutions we want, then we organize and turn out we hold public meetings called actions with politicians, and we get them to commit to what we want. And their self-interest in doing that is if we have an action with 300 people sitting out there who are voters, they are therefore that they are then they have a self-interest in being reelected, right? So this is people that they can show that they're supporting. So in Oakland, at starting at 5:30 on Thursday, we're having a it's a march and an action, and to call on Oakland City Council to fully support the ceasefire program, which has been so successful in reducing homicides at its peak by about 2/3. Last year, a previous mayor defunded the program a bit, but it was fully funded again in the last few years. Last year, the number of homicides in Oakland was down 33%. So far this year, it's down 6% from this time last year. And overall, shootings are down 30% because of ceasefire. So it's to support that program. And if you're interested, you can go to the Faith in Action East Bay website and attending. It'll be interfaith, so just be aware that it will be in held the action in this case will be held in a Christian church. I suspect there will be some folks from Christian congregations holding Christian iconography across here or there or something like that. So just wanted folks to be aware of that, but it is interfaith. And it's also called to there's a big issue in Oakland and I think in other cities where in lower income areas, people who haul trash, instead of bringing it to the dump, they dump it on a vacant lot, a street, a sidewalk. And this has been a problem for a long time, and we want the city to do something about this. And there's a connection, I think, between neighborhoods where this goes on and crime. There's research that shows that when you improve the overall livability of a neighborhood, clean up buildings, abandoned buildings, remove trash, that it could reduce crime by as much as 20%. So we are having that. We are also, because we are focused on violence prevention in Richmond, for those who are interested, we're having on Friday the 20th, and both of these events are tied to Juneteenth, by the way. On Friday the 20th, we're having Silence Our Violence Summit, which is all types of violence. We're standing against domestic violence, gender-based violence, and gun violence. There'll be panels, workshops, and everything. That's in Richmond. And again, you can go to the Faith in Action East Bay website, fiaeastbay.org, if you're interested in either of those events. If you're not in the Bay Area, I encourage you to connect organizing. The protests, the No Kings protests over the weekend were hugely successful. But we also want to organize on the basis of people turning out. Protesting are great, but then what is our long-term, how do we sustain this work? And we do it by developing relationships, bringing people together in some of the events that I'm talking about. So if you're not in the Bay Area, there are several national organizing networks. Faith in Action is one. People's Action is another. Gamaliel. Look for folks doing this work. What we try and do is sustain the work over an extended period of time, because the work, it's an ongoing. I believe it's a call from the Creator to do this kind of work. So encourage everybody who's interested to research and look that up.
Yeah, definitely look it up. There's probably something going on in your area, so it's important to be aware. And maybe you can't do anything right now. But maybe you have a child who, when I say a child, I mean a young adult who wants to participate in the social justice movement. So, or maybe you have a neighbor or a sister or a brother. So research what is available, and maybe you can't go out and walk, or you maybe you have a fear of groups, but maybe you can make phone calls from home or send emails or sign petitions. The important thing about organizing is find a place where you can do something that you feel comfortable with, that it fits your comfort zone, and work in that orbit. Work in that orbit. And as Todd said, this is it's not just about a 1 day event or a 2 day event, an action here and action there. Sustainability is the thing
Yeah.
that is going to get us to bring about change, because those working against this, they are long range, long term planners, and they've been at this for years. And it's coming to a head at this day and time. So, Todd, you provided a wealth of information, and I'm sure that people who may see the program either on YouTube or Facebook, or those who are here in the Zoom session now, have gotten a lot of information. And I hope that I put bayresistance.org in the chat, and also FIA eastbay.org in the chat for those who want to go to those particular websites. I know you had another meeting that you worked around to be able to join us. So if anyone has a question, raise your hand, Mohammed or Ismail.
And may I say one more thing before I need to step off? Or I don't know if it was a question
Sure.
for me, Amatullah. Would that be all right? And I
Yes,
see Brother Umar has.
I think Umar raised his hand, but you go ahead, make your comment.
All right. I guess there's something that's really important, especially for people living in purple districts or Republican areas. There's this bill that the House of Representatives passed that's now at the Senate that's called the Big Beautiful Bill, because that's what Trump wanted it to be called. It would be the single largest wealth transfer from low-income people to the wealthy in American history. It is an abomination. Basically, it's taking food from the mouths of children, counter to what's being said, and let's be honest, those are lies, that it's not going to take people off Medicaid, that it's not going to reduce food stamp benefits for people. So contact your member of Congress, and to oppose this bill would be something important. So, and I apologize, Brother Umar, you had your hand up, and I jumped in because I have to run. So, yeah.
No, 1 minute. I just want to take 1 minute.
Yeah.
I want to commend you for the work that we've done together and the way you've taken lead on it, bro. I really appreciate you. It makes the work even more meaningful than introducing or reintroducing the Muslim community into community organizing in Oakland. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me just say this. I think the more we can come together across our faith traditions, because we are all siblings to each other, and God is beyond all of us, right? And so all we know is that God calls us to work together and show love to each other. I believe that is the most important of our faith values, that we are all beloved by God and we are all called to work together. So I appreciate coming from you, Brother Umar. That means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. May God accept our efforts.
And I'll be a witness to what Umar says, because Todd is definitely on it as far as getting these Muslims in the East Bay to come on and do what you got to do. So, Master Warathin Muslims, we're in competition. We're in that race with the lighthouse. We got to get it out there. Inshallah, it's a good race. It's a good race.
I love it.
Inshallah, thank you so much, Brother Todd.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much you blessed me by having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye. Assalamu alaikum.
Hey,
Umar, you got an intro to let us know. Marvin Gaye said, "What's going on?" Okay, I'm telling my age right now. What's
Uh-oh.
going on? Now, you've been on the ground in LA.
Mm-hmm.
We hear one story of this and one story of that, to this and to that. You tell us, what have you witnessed? What are you doing in the community down there? What can we do to
Okay.
help our brothers and sisters in Los Angeles and
Um,
the surrounding towns?
I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to speak and give my narration, a perspective or insight to what's happening here in Los Angeles. But I'd like to start off first by naming events that led up to this. The first event is that my mother was a beneficiary of the 1964 Act of the Civil Rights Movement, when the immigration part. My mother's from South America.
Okay.
And she was able to take advantage of coming to the United States for a better life. And due to the support that she got from local programs and Compton College and I guess the authority, local government here, she was able to establish herself in Compton, in the city of Compton. And I say that to say that no human being is illegal. No human being is illegal. Allah do not create illegal human beings, because there's a false narrative that's going through all communities to keep us separated, that they're illegal. By Allah, Allah made us all vicegerents, and he did not say vicegerents over his illegal creation. With that being said, on early in June, we had to announce to we have housing here in Los Angeles. We had to announce to our residents that Job Corps would no longer cover the program because it's been put on pause or the budget has been cut. And we have many immigrants in that situation that's just looking to better their lives. So that was around about June 1st, between June 1st and June 5th, we had to deliver that news. I just want you to peek the list of events. By June 6th, ICE began its raids. I don't know about nationwide, but here in Los Angeles. And it started raiding car washes, school, everything that they could think of illegally, immorally to meet their goals, that you were saying. And so Compton, and then here in Los Angeles, we don't have a good relationship with law enforcement. So anytime law enforcement comes in to so-called de-escalate or keep the peace, there's a relationship, a history that goes even back to the Watts riots, that we do not have a good relationship. So it's like adding fuel to the fire, because though you do have officers who do want to keep the peace, you have some of those other mentalities within their ranks who take advantage of their power. And so, I'm not saying that they're wrong or right, but we don't have a great relationship with law enforcement here in Los Angeles.
Is there an effort going on? Let me just ask you this. Is there an effort from the community side to develop a better relationship with law enforcement?
It has always been an effort to develop a better relationship with a better professional relationship with law enforcement, but that's like over the last 20 years. So it's a rabbit hole that everybody has to crawl out of.
Okay.
So by June 6th, ICE raids began here. The first one I saw was in Compton, how not about less than a mile or 2 miles away from me, they went to the Home Depot, and we know the Home Depot is a sanctuary for where people go hire people to come help them.
Right, day workers.
Yeah, because I've done it, you know what I'm saying? Hey, can you come help me clear my yard and do this, that, and the other? And they be like, get in the car. So I picture them as as an extension of my mother trying to get help or trying to establish themselves for a better moral life. So that's June 6th. And then that weekend happened with the fires, I guess we can call it civil unrest. The provocateurs stepped in and people started looting this, that, and the other. So there was a call here in Los Angeles, because I'm the board chair for LA Voice, which is a federation of Pico, California. And there's like 9 federations of federations of Pico here in California. And I'm the board chair for the LA Federation. And so everybody got to discussing and talking, strategizing. So on June 10th, we were able to have a vigil at Grand Park, right across the street from City Hall in downtown Los Angeles. And it was a collaboration with other organizations to bring up for the interfaith community. Come on now, I'm busy. For the interfaith community to have a pious approach to what's going on here in Los Angeles, to bring some type of a pious approach to give protesters an alternative way of thinking how we should approach this way of establishing justice. So this
and you're saying pious approach. P-I-O-U-S?
Yeah, pious.
Okay.
Using our piety, using our faith to give a better approach, because it was getting really, really out of hand. And so the Mayor Karen Bass, she came to the table, county supervisors, everybody came to the table. How can we do this? So LA Voice decided to, among a coalition, decided to create this visual of taking over the park with the stage and everything else, and have different faith leaders give their perspective and invite everybody who's in the downtown Los Angeles area to come to this one center to get the moral support that's needed for our families who's been separated. So we're going to be, inshallah, we're going to be doing the same thing again on, what's today? This Wednesday. This Wednesday.
Friday.
This Wednesday.
Okay.
Well, I don't know the date. Wednesday, 17th, 18th.
Wednesday the 18th at 6 p.m.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing the same thing because again, Los Angeles has a history of this type of protesting, and we want to keep it calm as much as we can and give people the alternative to be heard and to help protect those who's been literally snatched off the streets. There's a Latino man, a Mexican man in Long Beach, and he normally sells morning breakfast foods like coffee, cocoa, things of that nature, keep people warm in the morning. Why did ICE show up and kidnap him and left his stuff there? This man haven't been seen since.
His family doesn't know anything about where he is?
No, nobody knows. They know that he's been arrested, but for some reason, don't nobody know where he's at right now. So these illegal abductions, and this is the one time I'm gonna use the word illegal. These illegal, immoral abductions is taking place throughout the county of Los Angeles. So we do have an action this Wednesday for another peaceful protest, and then from there we're gonna walk to I think a local detention center. That's what we did last week. We marched to a local detention center, maybe about 500 people plus.
I have 3 questions, and I'm sorry. Can I?
Go ahead.
I got 3 questions. What representative from the Islamic community spoke at the previous?
Okay, so if you go to my Instagram, Aziza Hassan spoke spoke at last week's vigil, and she was accompanied by Salam Mariotti and myself. Aziza delivered a very powerful, meaningful, pious approach to not introduce, but from an Islamic perspective of what it means to, because you know, Islam and social justice, not many people know the intersection of that.
Okay.
You know, when not many people understand that the prophet and the prophets has a social responsibility in protecting God's people. Like if you were a Khalifa, you even have the responsibility if a whale is beached on the shore to get him back to his environment.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Aziza Hassan of Newground was able to deliver a powerful speech accompanied by Salam Mariotti and myself.
Okay, now Salam Mariotti is with Impact, Muslim Public Affairs Committee.
Muslim
right?
Public Affairs Council, one of my clients. Yeah.
Okay, and you've been working with them. Did any imam speak?
No, this
Okay.
is a thing, and my sister Cheryl could probably understand. And I'm not trying to badger. I commended Todd because he has taken the introduction to the Muslim community in Oakland to reintroduce Muslims to community organizing. And I know the Honorable Sister Cheryl could relate with what I'm about to say. We're always the last ones to show up if we don't want to show up. We always feel that this is not our problem. We always feel that, I've been through our struggle. Why should I help them? And Muslims are hardly represented in these actions. And that's been my plight, to get Muslims represented in these actions. Cheryl and myself, and Cheryl, you can speak on this if you want to. Sometimes we couldn't be in a room of the interfaith community, and maybe somebody else is here. We're in a room of interfaith community, and we're the only ones there. Then they look for us to say, where your people at? Then when you go back to your community, everybody got this yah rah rah talk, that how they down and how they with it, but they don't show up. Maybe because they're tired from work, maybe they don't have the time. I don't know. Maybe because it's almost like a volunteer situation. But we've been made vicegerents. Established weight with justice and fall not short in the balance. It did not stop with Malcolm. It did not stop with Warren D. Muhammad, W.D. Muhammad. It did not stop there. As a believer, and what Allah say in Surah 48, I believe it's Ayat 9 or Ayat 8, we have three responsibilities, three duties as a believer: to share glad tidings, to be a warner, and to deliver the message. And then to take that even to another step, if you see an injustice, you can fix it with your hands, your speech, or leave it in your heart, and that's the weakest of intentions. So, we have a responsibility to show up, and we can't wait. We can't allow other people to do it for us, because they're looking for the power of the Muslim community to be involved. What was your other question?
Okay. I don't see that in Surah 48. So, but
Surah
we'll
48 is Ayat 9 or Ayat 8. It's in the first 10 ayats.
So Surah 48 only goes to Ayat 29.
Yeah, it's in the first 10 ayats.
48? Okay. My next,
Al-Fath, victory, yes.
The victory, okay. Let me see, the prophet's duty, shares and spoils of war, fake excuses, allegiance under the tree.
You're looking for that. Can I say something, Sister Martin?
Sure, go right ahead.
So, Brother Umar, what he's saying, I mean, and I think we've talked about this before on the show, and I think we can't underscore this enough that this is exactly that reality, which is why a lot of times when we show up, we look like anomalies, or like we're something that's extremely special. And sister, you know, our newest Congresswoman, Latifah Simon, mentioned this. She was speaking, and whenever you ask her, so what do you need? And she'll tell you the same thing. Yes, donations are good and all of that. I need support. I need prayer. I need people showing up. And she needs that because she's in an atmosphere that is not only vitriolic, but where there's loneliness is prevalent, where there's just not a lot of us. And when we say that, I think that a lot of times it's taken for granted. There are a lot of excuses why not to show up. But when I see us show up in other places, it is very disappointing when we don't show up and I'm going to use this word, when we need to show up, right? And that need to show up and that must show up because, yes, a lot of us are tired. There is that opportunity to affect the change. It slips away. And it is daunting. It is heavy on the shoulders. It is heavy on the back. But we end up having to rely on the interfaith community that Brother Todd was just talking about because we don't have us showing up. And it's not just political, it's community work. When we are doing community work, we end up having to, and Brother Fleming has spoke of this too, right, on this show. And if any of us run for office, if any of us are putting on an event and we need underwriters, or we need support, or we need, sponsors or grant writers, it's not the Muslim community that's stepping forward. Because a lot of times we are doing this. And then once it gets pulled off, or once it's successful or whatever, then he's like, oh, this was great. No, we have to also be willing to do the work. And it's not just the imams. The imams have a lot on their shoulders and plates too. He's us. So I wanted to say that because a lot of times it is. And I think the imams have said that too. It can't just be there. It can't just be there. He's us. He's us. And whether that's voting or getting people registered to vote and telling them they need to vote. They need to vote. We can't be the perpetual people who are upset with what's happening in the world, but we don't step out and step in and lift up and lift out. And what's the saying? I always forget the words, but is it faith without action is a wish or a dream or something like that?
Faith without action is no faith, and action without faith is no action.
That's Say it again. I'm gonna type it down so I don't forget it. Because I know my grandmother used to say something like faith without action. I think she said is a dream or a wish or something like that. You're just dreaming it because God requires us to put in the work.
Yeah,
let's go back to, and I'm not disagreeing on the importance of the work. Also, the prophet has given us, it's, when you see it wrong, and Umar quoted it before, you change it with your hands. If you can't change it with your hands, you at least have in your heart that, oh, I wish I could change that. Oh, um, but before even your heart, the heart is the weakest, but you speak out, so that's why I said earlier, one key thing about community organizing, and we learned this in the labor movement, is you have to get people where they are. Everybody is not willing to go out to an action, but maybe for whatever reason, and they may have a valid reason. Maybe they have a health reason. Maybe they have, a mental reason, anything. But maybe in their home, they can send an email petition. They can write a letter. They can, um, make a phone call to their representative. So one thing I will say, I agree with you, the imams can't do everything, and it has to come from all of us in the congregations. But the imams do have khutbah time. And so social justice should be a part of the khutbah. Our calendar, our Hijri calendar, is based on what? Immigration, the migration of the Muslims from Mecca to Medina.
Sure.
The topic for a khutbah. Okay.
Yep.
Immigration is that's all you see in the news and this, that, and the other. Friday khutbah. Okay, what does immigration mean to us as Muslims? And it's a matter of awareness. People have to be made aware of these things. One thing that Todd said was that all of these issues are interrelated, and it's true.
Yes.
You don't want criminals to come into the country and just wreak havoc. We're not saying that, but there, this problem is a problem that has existed since the 60s, probably, okay, or the 70s or the 80s. I mean, it's not something that just cropped up in the last 10 years, but there has been a failure of leadership, of the federal leadership, because that is their responsibility initially to revise the system and make the system more workable to accommodate people. You saw how Trump started to backstep. Well, maybe we can, the agricultural workers or the hospitality workers, maybe we can carve out some exceptions. Well, you should have thought about that before you send all of these ICE people in to kidnap people, as Omar has said. Um, I was surprised when they showed on the No Kings Day, they showed a clip, I think people in Boise, and then there were some people in Iowa. Well, the people in Iowa, a lot of them were out because ICE had gone into one meat plant there and got, I think, 70 people that they just, and the I forgot the name of the company, the man was saying, they might as well have just shut down my business because they've taken 2/3 of my workforce.
Right.
So you always say, Cheryl, I go back to the money. Yes, let's go to the money. When they look
What it
at
is. Yeah.
what is the financial consequence, and Gavin Newsom, to his credit, he's like, what are you doing to the agricultural industry here in California? You have to be thoughtful in how you approach this. Um, you wanted to run on immigration in your campaign, so you shut down the bill that was trying to bring about some reforms. Okay, now we just have incompetent leadership. We have an incompetent president. He has incompetent cabinet members. Um, and on the House side, and who was it? Lisa Murkowski. Was it Lisa Murkowski? The woman from Alaska, the senator from Alaska. She had to admit they're afraid, they're intimidated. Why? Because they're holding on to power and not trying to serve the people. And so
Correct.
I just got onto all of that. But Umar, I wanted to get from you. You said you can go to my Instagram. What is your Instagram? Number one, and then I got two things for you.
My Instagram is INKERIJ
ERIJ, which is encourage
1970.
1970.
Yeah, I wanted to also say that I wanted to comment on that situation where you said that they might as well close down this business.
Exactly.
A lot of these businesses that like the farmers, everybody's being cheated right now in this whole situation, because these are the job these are the businesses that's giving people second chances to be employed and to provide for their families and themselves.
Yeah.
You know, and so when ICE raids take half the employees, they taking down not only Mexicans or Latino community, but
Right.
they're taking people of color, our African community
Yes.
as well. But they want to highlight the Mexicans as if they are a problem. And then when it comes to criminals, and this may hit a little
What
different.
about felons? You talking about felons?
This may hit a little different, but
Felon in chief?
we have felons in our own community who are Muslim.
Yes.
So this is you know, it's hard to label that only Mexicans and Latinos are criminals.
That's right.
We have our own our young people within our own families have records.
Right.
For whatever reasons. And I'm not trying to justify them, but this is a problem that, that we have to resolve first internally within our own community, because power is built locally. And once we start building our power locally, we will be able to have a cohort or the political that can affect the federal government. When we did, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna start. On November 19th, we established a resolution called Human Security. And one of the things I said in this talk, I think I said, we are in your hands and you are in our hands. And what I meant by that, we have the right to vote you in and vote you out. And so many things about voting, if we don't grab a hold of our Constitution and our Constitution's rights, the rights within our constitutions, we're not going to have these rights anymore. And this is the start of this fascist, whatever words you want to put on it, high terminology words you want to put on it. This is the start of the takeover. And like Todd said, he has overreached. And being American has a boundary. It's supposed to be a balanced boundary between the people and the government. And he has definitely overreached his boundary to now today, Malcolm lessons are more popular because the average American is feeling the pain of being marginalized. You feel me? So we have to show up. We have to show up, because if not, we don't show up, our power, which means our will and ability, will be worth nothing.
Yes, that's true. You mentioned, and this was my second thing that I was going to say, or comment I was going to make. You mentioned that when you had the first vigil, that when you all came together to strategize, that Mayor Bass had come to the table too with other organizations too. I really want to commend her. I thought it was very strategic and wise. The press conference she gave, where she had the mayors and the council representatives of all of the city and unincorporated areas around LA, to speak at the press conference, and to say what is going on. Vernon was one of the places. Long Beach, I think, was one of the places. And one thing that I noticed was many of the elected officials in those surrounding areas, so many of them were of Mexican descent.
Yeah,
I thought that I thought that
Eunice Hernandez of District CD1, City District 1. A few of them are Latino descent.
yes, yes.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
a lot were women. Another thing that I saw, that many were women, and then there were maybe about 3 or 4 men spoke. One spoke who was a Marine veteran, and he spoke directly to the Marines who were coming in. You know, he reminded them of an oath to the Constitution, not to an individual, which I thought was good. But I think that Mayor Bass, with her roots, because she came up as an organizer.
Yep, Coco.
Before coming into the political arena. I was happy to see that. And before she emerged on the state level, I really didn't know a lot about her. Following her into the Congress when she was in the Congress, and now coming back as a mayor of LA. I pray Allah bless her to be successful, because she's had some major things to happen with the fire, and now this situation with ICE coming in.
Mayor
But
Bass's,
he's holding steady.
I don't want to cut you off. Mayor Bass's opposition is the same federal government who is conducting these ICE raids.
Yeah.
The same people who are trying to get her out of office, trying to blame her for the fires when she was out the country on something that a commitment. I don't know when somebody's gonna strike a match.
Right.
I don't know when the law gonna turn on the switch. It's not her fault. You know what I'm saying? We try. I think it's Edison who had a faulty maintenance of their plant when the wind started blowing that caused the situation. That started the fire. So it brought out a lot of indiscretions that how the system could be better. But it's not her fault. And even in this, she's leading. And part of that conference was to show and not give Trump the proof that LA are savages, that LA are thugs, that LA are full of criminals. So part of that strategy, or the couple of press conferences she had, I couldn't go because it was short notice. I was already obligated to something else. But this is why it's important for just more Muslims to show up and start getting this training of leadership, and you, not everybody is an automatic leader. You have to go through the years of the tier, the different levels of tiers to reach this experience. So when we get in those circles, we know how to respond in a mindful way. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to discredit any imam, that's not to discredit any community members, but there's a growth and development in this game, and it starts in community organizing, so we can understand the mission, the vision, and bring our input into this, and not just react when policies are passed. And then the first thing we say, well, I didn't have nothing to say about it. Well, when you was invited to the meeting, you didn't show up. They invite us to these meetings so they could get our personal insight on how this could be a well-rounded policy for the communities that it needs to represent.
Right. So you mentioned Surah 48, Al-Fat.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Verse 8. You want to read it?
Yeah, so Bismillah. Surah 48 is Arabically named Al-Fath, or the closest word to Al-Fath is victory. It talks about the conquest of Mecca, how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how he came back in to Mecca to restore the worship of Allah. This is when Bilal ibn Rabah called it Adhan. So in Surah 48, Allah, I'm gonna start with 7. Bismillah, and it's the English. For to Allah belong the forces of the heavens and the earth, and Allah exalted in power, full of wisdom. So Surah 8 of 48. We have truly sent thee as a witness, as a bringer of glad tidings, and as a warner, in order that ye, O men, may believe in Allah and his messenger, and ye may assist and honor him and celebrate his praises morning and evening. So when you look at this, these are 3 responsibilities that the mu'min has in society. And so we could do our part on earth about bringing about Allah's truth. You know, so this is our part that we need to bring about Allah's truth to show up as a vicegerent of his word. You know, it's not just about being the sole commander. Do your part and exercise your stock in being a believer in Allah's word. But we cannot do that by keep saying somebody else to do it for me. Sister Cheryl do it for me. We can't, or Amatullah do it for me. I really believe this is why your program is established, to create the awareness that more believers need to be involved, and you giving us the insight of why we should be involved, and that should activate us to get involved.
We've gone in the program, and those who normally participate or listen to the program, you realize that one of our co-hosts, beloved brother Fleming El-Amin, is not on the program this morning. Brother Fleming, his mother, Mrs. Jackson, she returned to Allah. She transitioned from this life on Friday, Juma Day, this past Friday, Friday the 13th, which is a great significant day in the history of Islam. And so we miss him, and we pray, and we make prayer and dua that Allah will strengthen him and his family during this time of transition. Brother Fleming, for those who know, has a long history of community activism. And he is a former elected official, county supervisor there in Carolina and North Carolina. And he is the current president of the American Coalition for Good Government. And their mission is to develop a political climate for growth in American politics by enhancing, empowering leadership to change the circumstances that prevents us from realizing the good life. So I invite people to go to the website for the American Coalition of Good Government, so you get more of an example of what they are doing and what they're about, their mission and their vision. Imam Muhammad gave a speak on the winning spirit for success in Detroit, Michigan, in August 31st, 2008. I believe this was at the last convention that this was from. And it says, this country belongs to me, too. I am one of the owners of the United States of America. I have my page is cut off, of America, but it says, no matter how small my share is, I am going to recognize my share, and I'm going to be responsible, and I am going to join the other owners, the little poor persons like me, and the rich persons who are the movers and the shakers. I am a member in their club, whether they like it or not. So MAGA, whether you like it or not, we're coming at you. And finally, strategies for future political influence. Imam Muhammad said in Wake Up to Human Life on page 37, God has put in the soul that he created to know where to go. That is, if we clean our minds and hearts and have nothing deceitful in us and be not all for ourselves, but for the community, God will let us know through our souls where we should take our lives. So those are powerful words for us to reflect on. So if you wonder why you're getting that little tickle in your soul, God is trying to tell us something. And strategies for future political influence, ACGG says, build our strategies on principles of human values instead of party loyalty, and advocate for nonpartisan participation. Nonpartisan participation. Doesn't matter what party that you're in,
Got a speech going on.
you have to participate. And they present the steps to develop our strategies, organize, strategize, implement, and evaluate OC. Brother Fleming has spoken with us about that in the past also.
Sister Amatullah,
Yes.
may I be excused from the call because I gotta take this call with further strategy planning for Wednesday.
Sure, go right ahead. And thank you, Omar.
Okay.
Umar, for your comments and for the work that you continue to do.
Well, I'm
Appreciate it.
surrounded by smart people, and such as yourselves, and here in Los Angeles, and we doing our best for the intersection of faith and social justice to happen here in Los Angeles.
Yes. Well, one final thing before you go.
Yes, ma'am.
Remind me to send you the contact info for Brother Mujahid Ramadan. He's in Vegas, and he has done tremendous work with police reform.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Inshallah.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, sis. Appreciate all your work, Sister Cheryl. And Muhammad and Munira, may Allah bless you to take, and Brother Michael, bless you to take this message into the community. And it could start off as small conversations. We have to plant the seed and pray for rain. All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Okay.
Has his hand up, sister.
Huh?
Brother Michael has his hand up.
Yes. Brother Michael Amin.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Yeah, I've enjoyed this the content this afternoon, and you know, we have a certain way of as everyday folks being socialized in a certain manner, and we need leadership, formal as well as informal leadership, and the reminder of those two statuses, that everyone doesn't have to have a title to be a leader. And we were told that in terms of the resourceful people is where we should look for leadership. Those that, you know, I've heard in the last couple of days this terminology, vicegerent, you know, and it's management, you know, self-management as well as managing what's around us, a proper management of our families and our neighborhoods. And those people that are able to do that well, these are the people that we should urge, urge to do a little bit more, not a whole lot more. You know, we all have different schedules and different capacities, but the urging of one another, in fact, that's a command from Allah in the guidance, you know. The believers are to remind one another, you know, and so it's necessary. And we of all people, and when I say we, African Americans, excuse me, we know about jury nullification, unequal application of the law, or total disrespect of the law when it comes to being applied to us. We're very familiar. Now, other citizens are experiencing this. Even the MAGA people, many of them are waking up to the fact that they've been lied to. They I used to joke on the construction sites with my Caucasian brothers, uh, the the rebel flag and how I saw it as black and white being in the cross. You know, you lied to being told that you're better than a black man, and look at the waste, the waste and the destruction of that idea in your life and the life of other people. You know, it's time for us to expose these lies in terms of how there's a certain group that are even over President Trump and his administration that are are not respectful of our common humanity, and you know I'm going to close with this. Benjamin Franklin was asked about the early development of the country. And he says, well, we have a republic if we can keep it. You know, this republic will be lost if citizens don't wake up to accept responsibility for it. And that includes Muslims. You know, some of these Muslims are kind of double-minded, you know. They have bad feelings about America, and they want to benefit from America, but they don't want to roll up their sleeves to help preserve it. And I'll close with that.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you for your comments, Brother Michael. Appreciate it. Couple of more points. Cheryl, do you have anything you want to bring up? Because I have a couple of points I wanted to bring up. I'll give you the opportunity.
I I I, I was listening to Brother Umar and Brother Todd, Pastor Todd, and I think that for me it all comes back to and even what you were saying about Brother Fleming, and it does come back to the willingness and the want and the understanding of how sensitive, and I don't mean sensitive as in feelings, I mean sensitive as in the tenor of the nation's systems are. And the willingness and the want, how strong that willingness and want is of our communities to stand up and sometimes sit down to protect what we say we care about and we believe in. It's not enough to quote Quran. It's not enough to quote Hadith. It's not enough to say this is who we are without proving it. I get it. Everybody has a lot on their plate and you can't do everything. You can't be all places at once. And as you mentioned, sometimes it means support looks different for everybody and every household. We have to start, and we have to stop making excuses for not starting. We have to put ourselves in positions where we have power and influence. We don't have power and influence and decision-making authority when all we're doing is reacting. When we're always on the defense. When we're always asking someone else to please listen, please give, please do for us. There are tens of millions of Muslims in this country, which means we have power if we choose to exercise it. Because when we exercise it, we've done some wonderful things. I look at what we've done. Some of you may or may not know, I'm part of the Muslim Civic Coalition, and some of the work that we have managed to get done, it's been phenomenal. But it's just the tip of the iceberg, being able to get halal meals in schools and nursing facilities, and even in juvenile facilities or incarcerated facilities, or being able to get Ramadan or Eid recognized in our schools and in our municipalities. And all of that's being backslid right now. But only if we allow it. We have the power to not allow some of this. What's happening right now is a test. And it's not just a test of our American system, because what this particular administration is doing is trying to see what they can get away with. Because as soon as they get pushed back, whether it's by the people or the courts, they say, okay, we won't do it that way. Because you see what happened? You mentioned it, Sister Amatullah, with the immigrants on the farms and in fact manufacturing and with the hotels and hospitality industry, those industries pushed back and said, what the hell are you doing? You're messing up our business. It was all about the money. Because when they said, you realize that all your people over in Mar-a-Lago who work in these industries, they don't have paper, sir. We can't run your businesses, sir. We can't run your business over here at the towers in New York. We can't run at your golf course because we don't have your people. ICE is over here snatching up people from your businesses. He said, okay, hold on. Let me roll this back. Let me roll this back. You know, ICE, maybe you ought to look somewhere else. Don't look at the hotels. Oh, who is this? We just gave $1 million. This is Joe from the pork farm. We gave $1 million to you when you ran last time, and we've been giving $6 million to all the Republicans who won in the last senatorial and in the House, and we helped you win the House. And you know midterms are coming up, and now ICE came and snatched up all our people. Just not working for us, sir. Oh, what? What? Oh no, they weren't supposed to come to you. Well, they here. Oh no, okay, let's wind it back. He didn't do it out of the kindness of his heart. No. Why we say chase the money? So this is all a test. As soon as we push back, what did he do with Israel? Russia. All that bad talk that, what do you call it? Not bad talking. What do you call it, sister?
Trash
Woof.
talk.
Yeah, trash talk. Like woof. They're woof.
Woofing.
Woofing.
Wait a minute, you're not supposed to know that term. You're a youngster.
Yeah, woofing. Woofing. I don't even know what it means,
Selling
but I
that
know
woof
that I've
ticket.
heard it.
Selling
I
that
know I've
woof
heard it.
ticket.
Selling woof tickets. I know I heard it, but you notice that he only do it when he get pushed in a corner. When Elon Musk started spilling all the secrets on the X, on Twitter, all of a sudden you're like, hold on, somebody get him. Because he was like over there, like, I don't care about no Musk, whatever. Elon started playing the dozens. He started talking. And Elon is he's like a South African Kanye West. You can't shut him up when he gets started. He like, And he started talking about it. He been over there puffy parties and he been doing it. And he was like, wait, what? Get him. Somebody get him. He started talking about Epstein and all of these lists. And he said, I got proof. He said, shut him up. So it's a test, but
But
it's
how did he
also,
shut him up? How did he shut him up?
he didn't. You notice that he
He
still,
told him he said, you know you do have government contracts, right?
but you know what Elon said? And this is the part that most people think. People think he shut him up because of government contracts. But he started smirking. He said, you know, I have money and I can buy a bunch of Democrats into office and still get my contracts back.
Yeah, that's what
Because he said the Democrats are the ones who like EV vehicles. And so they were like, okay, so what can we do to keep you quiet? That's what happened. He said, let's see how this bill comes out. That's why he's quiet right now. He said, let's see how this big ugly bill. And if you look at the Twitter, let's see how this big ugly bill comes out. Because if you take away my EV, if it still has this EV and this Medicare in it, you're done. I fell out. I said, this is like watching better than like a soap opera. So it's all in that. But more than that, this is also a test of all of us, as Brother Todd said and Brother Umar said, it's also a test of our constitution as faith-led people. What are we going to do? Where are we going to stand? Are we going to keep doing, we're going to quote Bible and Quran and Torah, or are we going to do something to protect the people, the most vulnerable, the most impacted people, and stand up? Because the bully always backs down. When you stand up against the bully, they back down. So we need to be, last thing I'm going to say is this. We need to be running people for office next year in 26 and 28 and 30 and 32. I'm planning all the way out to 32. We need to be running people of faith and conscientiousness. The conscientiousness is important. Faith and conscientiousness. We need to be prepping them. We need to be grooming them. We need to be learning them, like my grandmother would say, not teaching, learning them. We need to be learning them. We need to be making sure that they're going to meet the right people and getting in the right spaces and places. And you have to do it this way. Why I say you plan to 32, because it has to be very strategic where they don't see us coming. See, they'll see you coming in 26, but they can't see you building it up, right? It might be 2 or 4 in 26, but by the time you get to 32, you got a whole contingency. You got a whole voting block. You got a whole, what do you call those? They call it caucus. You got a whole Muslim caucus by the time you get to 32. Right now, 3, 4 people don't make a caucus, but you might have 15, 20 by 32 if you do it right. But we have to get it together. We got to be meeting to have an agenda. Just like we got to have a Black agenda, we got to have a Muslim agenda, and we all got to agree. We got to agree. That's exactly what they did. They've been building this little movement since Reagan was in office. But we sit around and we want to argue. They ain't got nothing to do with me. And Brother Umar just told you where his mom is from. Told you where my parents are from. I go all the way back to Jordan, Egypt, and France with my grandmother. France and Ireland. That's why I got that little redhead who thinks I work for her. You got to know. And so we got to build it from there. And we got to keep building brick by brick until when they turn around and be like, where did they come from? How did we let this happen? Same way we looking at it like, how did we let this happen? That's Soto, sister.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. Just got to get the right people in the right rooms to start working.
Yes, ma'am.
And like you said, the key component is we have to learn to agree. We have to learn to come to shura bainahum. And it's not an easy process, but it is the process that Allah has ordained for us. And it is the process, I believe firmly, that it will make us successful. And if we get out of our feelings and out of our egos and out of our titles and out of our, I see it this way, and it's either my way or the highway, we have to learn how to build working relationships that can be productive, that can move towards a goal. On a Study Al-Islam Sunday, I would advise people to go back and look at Study Al-Islam, July 15th, 2025. There's a YouTube channel. Imam Muhammad Abdullah Leen from Philly, he spoke just briefly. He was talking about one point that he made, looking at the ayah of Quran that says that men are the maintainers and providers of women. He pointed to that word that was used for men was rijal, rijalin, and he talked about how that word applies to the legs, and he talked about how the legs give you both support and motion. Support and motion. Forward motion. You're going to walk forward. You got to have those legs to walk forward. Okay. Nowadays, people got motorized wheelchairs, but he called us back to the responsibility of the men to give that support and that forward motion. And at the same time, he also quoted from the Quran that says, and the baby child will be asked, what was your crime? That they would kill you, because in the days of Jahiliyyah, it was the practice, if a female child was born, got to get rid of her. They would bury her alive in the sand. But what was her crime? Her crime was being born female, where Allah tells us in that same surah of the Quran, or chapter would be the equivalency of it, that we are created from one soul, nefs wahida, both male and female come from that one soul. And you remember the man was telling us how the soul lets you know where you're going to go if we listen to that soul. And that one soul um, telling us that there is an equality between the male and the female, and that the female should not be held back. Okay, so she's a leader in the home. She has a responsibility to teach the children, to be their first teacher. And he referred back to the saying of you teach a man, you teach an individual, you teach a woman, you teach a nation. I believe Malcolm referenced that also. The importance of teaching, of women being educated. Um, and Imam Alim, he also referred back to, you know, a woman, um, she's not going to be a childbearing age all of her life. So what does she do? After the children are up and out, you talk about empty nesters, what does she do? She should have a right to um, spend that time in those areas that she has interest in, those careers that she has interest in. If she can manage that and manage the home too, alhamdulillah. But even after the responsibility of the children is no longer on her, she should have the right to make advances in the society to help in the Imam called it mother leadership in the society, and that's a big part of what's wrong with our society now. We don't have enough, I believe, mother leadership, that nurturing leadership in the society. This country, I went back and I asked one of the platforms, give me a list of the conflicts and the wars that this country has been engaged in. And he came back with 56 conflicts or wars or engagements. And it made it gave the footnote of, I'll read it here. This list provides a broad overview of U.S. activities that fall under covert operations, peacekeeping, or smaller interventions. But there are also other uh, covert operations that are not listed that the CIA won't let you know about. So if you look over in the 18th century, there were three. There was the American Revolution, there was a Northwest Indian War, there was a Quasi War. And then in the 19th century, there was the First Barbary War, the War of 1812, Second Barbary War, First Seminole War, Mexican-American War, Civil War, Indian War, Spanish-American War, 20th century, Philippine-American War, Boxer Rebellion, World War I, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War, Dominican Civil War, invasion of Grenada, invasion of Panama, Gulf War. In the 21st century, Afghanistan War, Iraq War, War on Terror, Libyan Civil War intervention, Syrian Civil War, Yemeni Civil War, intervention against ISIS, 2014 to the present. War, 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 war. And now we have that regime in Israel. Oh, I missed something in the 19th century. I'm sorry. We also had the overthrow of the Kingdom of Hawaii, the Russian Civil War intervention, Iranian coup, Guatemalan coup, Bay of Pigs invasion, Congo crisis, Dominican intervention, Operation Phoenix from 65 to 72. That was CIA operation during the Vietnam War to neutralize Viet Cong leadership, the Chilean coup, Angolan Civil War, Operation Eagle Claw, El Salvador Civil War, Nicaragua Contra War, Grenada invasion, Panama invasion, Somalia intervention, Haitian intervention in 1994. We're still dealing with Haiti right now. Bosnian War, Kosovo War in 1999. Afghanistan covert operations, Yemen drone strikes, 2002 to the present. Operation Neptune Spear, that was the U.S. Navy SEAL mission that killed Osama bin Laden in Pakistan. Libya intervention, NATO-led operation with U.S. involvement to overthrow Muammar Gaddafi. Syria covert operations. CIA and Special Forces involvement in training anti-ISIS and anti-Assad groups. Intervention against ISIS, 2014 to the present. Covert and overt missions to dismantle ISIS in Iraq and Syria. Somalia drone strikes, 2007 to the present. Ongoing counterterrorism operations against al-Shabaab militants. Niger and Sahel operations, 2013 to the present. U.S. support for counterterrorism missions against ISIS and al-Qaeda affiliates. Venezuela, covert and diplomatic efforts to support opposition to Nicolas Maduro. So that's where all our money is going. That's why we got people sleeping on the street. Eisenhower warned us about the military-industrial complex, and it's playing out right in front of us. And Israel is trying to drag us into this latest bully attempt that they made on Iran. It's a whole history and complicated thing. But I know one thing. If I walk down the street and Cheryl, you're coming towards me and you got a frown on your face and I knock you upside your head and I say, well, she was frowning at me. I think she was going to attack me. I think they would charge me with felony assault. But in the political arena, the international political arena, recently, in recent times, they've come up. I think we could attribute it maybe to Rumsfeld or those guys back there, preemptive, maybe Kissinger, preemptive strikes. Who gave you the right to do a preemptive strike where you kill 200 people or more and injure so many more? And then when the people retaliate and they kill 5 of you, you're like, oh, we're under attack. We're so anxious. We don't want to see any life spilled. But come on, people, let's not be snookered, as they say. Let's not fall for that rhetoric. And definitely, I'm pleading, contact your state, your federal officials, and tell them, do not drag us into Netanyahu's trap in the Middle East. Do not drag us into there. No more uh, military arms and mights for Israel to continue to be a bully in that part of the world. Michael, you have your hand up.
Yes, ma'am. There's got to be more of a challenge to these people that identify themselves as super Americans, and it's just so hypocritical, the language and the disrespect for the documents that bring us together as citizens. There's been a lot. I heard Imam Muhammad talk about the wasted potential in terms of these concepts, constructs of race and color superiority, and the wasted potential in terms of either stopping or actually assassinating or killing people who show that they have the intellect, they have the energy, and the focus to help America be better. And you know, we've got to use language, because among some of these MAGA people are people that are just, they've just been conditioned in a certain way. Some are just diehard hypocrites and liars, but they're those that I think can be reached with the medicine that we've been given. And it's just, when you take a people and you separate them from their foundational supports of life, traditions, and that sort of thing, language and so forth, and then you pour into them in inferior ideas about themselves, and you have them under slave conditions. There there is an obligation on those that have been a part of that to help ameliorate those conditions that they brought about. And you can't be let off the hook. And what I like, men and women of faith, is using the language that they claim with their, what do you call it, their weaponizing of Christianity. Well, some of us know the book enough to call them out as liars and hypocrites because they're not standing on the common humanity that many of the foundations that support this government have been established on. I'll stop with that. Thank you.
Thank you. So Cheryl, we started after 10 and we're just at about the 2 hour mark. So I want to thank Brother Michael, Sister Manira, Muhammad Sharif, Sister um, Martha, for your participation, and our two guests that we had today, Pastor Todd Benson from Faith in Action East Bay, who is the Executive Director of Faith in Action East Bay, and also Brother Umar Hakim Day, who is one of the founders of Encourage, Inkerig, a social justice organization that he founded there in Southern California, doing a great work with organizing the Muslim community to be more engaged in what's going on in our local communities. Um, and I hope that you found the information that they shared with us enlightening, motivating, and a reminder to us of our obligation to take ownership of our share of this country in whatever way that we can that is righteous and in accord with the guidance of the Quran and the example of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that is, peace be upon him. And I know myself, I'm personally really grateful for the courageous leadership of Imam Warithuddin Muhammad, for bringing our community, our association from the Nation of Islam under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, not the Nation of Islam that you see today, but the Nation of Islam under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, transitioning us to the Quran and Prophet Muhammad, not to other cultures, not to allegiance to foreign leaders or um, movements that tear us away from the price that we have paid. You know, when you buy a share of stock, there are penny stocks, and then there's the big money stocks like Nvidia and um, some of those pharmaceutical stocks. You got to pay $2, $3, $4, $500 maybe just to get a share. But like the Imam said, we have a share. Our blood of our ancestors, the blood of people like Dr. King and El-Hajj Malik Shabazz, also known as Malcolm X, and Imam Jamil El-Amin, also known as H. Rap Brown, and Fred Hampton, and the other Panthers who were killed but brutally by police. That was blood that was shed so that we could be on this broadcast today, so that you could be in your home listening to what we're saying or going about. Maybe you're planning for your vacation. Maybe you're planning to go to Philadelphia August 1st through the 3rd for the 50th anniversary. Whatever we plan, we have to incorporate in those plans taking control of our share in this country and honoring our share, as Allah has planted us here for a reason. We don't know why. And Cheryl, you have 1865, you got Juneteenth in back of you. Maybe in your closing remarks, you'll remind us, let's not just make Juneteenth about barbecue, please, and sales. You know, what is, after you get that sale, have a little strategy meeting You can have the barbecue in your backyard. When as everybody is smacking on their barbecue and the hot dogs and the corn on the cob and potato salad and macaroni salad and cornbread and hot water biscuits and all the every whatever you're gonna have, your sweet tea and your lemonade and whatever else you're gonna have a little strategy meeting about, okay, who are we going to get elected to the school board? Hey, you know what? Who are we going to get on this city council? We need some more. We need a different supervisor. And yeah, that mayor, I'm not, what are we going to do about that mayor? We need to have a meeting with that mayor to say, okay, you got to give us something if you want to get elected again. And okay, here's a petition for that House of Representative Congressman. Oh, that senator. We need to call his office. Let's start organizing one on one. It starts getting to know one another and building relationships with the current people in office and let them know how Martin Luther King said, uh, America wrote a check for us and we're here to collect that check. You got to let those local officials know, hey, we're here to collect. We paid our share. Now we want some dividends from that share, from that bloodshed, from that being hit up um, the side of their heads with those billy clubs, from those dog bites, from those little girls being traumatized, got to have National Guard to walk them into a school to sit down at a desk next to Caucasian children, many of whom were jeering at them and their parents. So all of that, going back to that first slave ship that landed, we're here now. It's time for us to collect. And Cheryl, I'm off my soapbox. Take us into Juneteenth and then take us out.
160 years. It's been a long time. Don't, like sister said, don't waste it. You all know I'm a vegan, so I won't be partaking on any of that. Not only am I vegan, I'm germphobe. So me and my favorite, this one be hanging out with. I'll be introducing 3TOP at the Richmond Juneteenth, and I'll be doing my political rounds, but I won't be eating after people. Like my grandma said, who made the potato salad? I don't eat potato salad anyway, but just saying. We know what that means. Who did the cooking? No. But I'm going to slip in every opportunity I get a call to action. And when I get on stage to introduce the band Saturday, I'll slip in a call to action. They might have to come pry the microphone out of my hands, but go slip it
The
in.
Apollo hook, huh?
It's gonna be the hook. I'm gonna slip it in. I'm gonna slip in. Listen, while you bobbing to the beats of the next entertainer, don't forget how we ended up with this celebration. It was not always a celebration. And I encourage all of you to, as Brother Umar said, take whatever little bit you can take from each one of these that we do each week and from the other shows on AM360. Take it back to the community. And if you yourself don't run for office, get appointed to a commission, support someone who is doing it. But each of us has a role to play in our communities to uplift the spirit of Juneteenth and the liberation of our communities and of our gente, our people. It's going to take each one of us to combat what's going on. You change what you expect, what you look at, you'll change how you act. And if you change how you act, outcomes change. Can't just wish for it. We have to act upon it. Do something today for someone without the expectation that they'll do something in return. Have a wonderful Monday. Have a wonderful week. Stay prayerful, stay powerful, stay philanthropic, stay engaged. We'll see you back here next Monday, 10 o'clock Pacific, 12 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock Eastern, inshallah, for another episode of MAP5 next week. We've got a wonderful show planned for you. We'll be talking school to prison pipeline, inshallah, unless something happens in the world, which we know something will happen. But that's the plan. And we have to pivot. We're always ready for the pivot. But there's a plan. We'll show a short documentary on and it's really not even just school, it's preschool to prison pipeline. And we have a panelist who will be discussing afterwards. So tell everybody. Well, the flyer will be posted, so you can share it and get everybody here. We'd love to see a good turnout so we can take that message back to our communities and see, and you'll have a call to action. So it's not just movie night or movie day. It's a call to action afterwards. With that, sister,
It's a wrap.
it's a wrap.
Thank you, everyone.
Assalamu
Assalamu alaikum. That is the peace that only God can give. Be with you. MAP5.
alaikum.
Signing out.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.